Don't let the latest home price headlines confuse you. Based on what you're hearing in the news about home prices, you may be worried that they're falling. But here's the thing, the headlines they're not giving you the full picture. If you look back at the national data for 2023, home prices actually showed positive growth for the year. And while this does vary by market, and while there are some months with slight declines, nationally, those were the exception, not the rule. The overreaching story is that prices went up last year, not down. Let's dive into this data to set the record straight. 23 was the return to more normal home price growth. If anything, last year marked a return to more normal home price appreciation. To prove it, here's what usually happens in the residential real estate market. In the housing market, there's predictable ebbs and flows that take place each year. It's what we call a seasonality, and it kind of goes like this. Spring is the peak home buying season when the market is most active. That activity is usually still strong in the summer, but begins to wane towards the end of the year. Home prices follow along with this seasonality because prices grow the most when there's high demand. This graph here shows user data from a Case Shiller to show how the pattern played out on home prices from 1973 to 2022. It's not adjusted so you can see the full seasonality. As the data shows, for nearly 50 years, home prices match typical market seasonality. At the beginning of the year, home prices grow more moderately, and that's because the market is less active and fewer people move in January and February. Then, as the market transitioned into peak home buying season in the spring, activity ramps up. That means home prices do too. Then, as fall and winter approach, activity eases again and prices grow, just at a much slower rate. Now let's layer that data with what's come out in 23. That one's shown in the green. On top, the long-term trend, which is still shown in blue. That way it's easy to see how 23 compares. As the graph shows, moving through the year in 23, the level of appreciation fell more in line with the long-term trend for what usually happens in the housing market. You can see just how close the green bars come to matching the blue bars in the later part of the year. But the headlines only really focused on the two bars outlined in red. Here's the context you may not have gotten that can really put these two bars into perspective. The long-term trend shows that it's normal for home prices to moderate in the fall and the winter. That is typical seasonality. And since the 49-year average is so close to zero during those months, it's like 0.1%. That also means that it's not unusual for home prices to drop ever so slightly during those times. But those are just blips on the radar. If you look at the year as a whole, home prices still rose overall. But what you really need to know is headlines are only going to call attention to the small month-to-month dips instead of the bigger year-long picture. And that can be a bit misleading because it's only focused on one part of the whole story. Instead, remember last year we saw the return of seasonality in the housing market. And that's a good thing. After home prices skyrocketed unsustainably during those unicorn years of the pandemic. And just in case you're still worried that home prices are going to fall, don't be. The expectation for this year is that prices are going to continue to appreciate as buyers re-enter the market due to the mortgage rates trending down compared to last year. As buyer demand goes up and more people move into the same time that housing supply is still low, the upward pressure on the prices will continue. The bottom line is, don't let the headlines confuse you. The data shows that as a whole, home prices rose in 23. If you have questions about what you're hearing in the news or what's going on with home prices in our area, be sure to reach out and let's connect. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, it'd mean the world to me if you'd like and subscribe below. Until next time.